This conference will now be recorded.
So, all right, guys. I just wanted to let you know that at times I will have office right in the morning at 6:30. So, in case if I have it, I will let you know beforehand. We might not have session for that particular day. So that's not. I mean, it's usually rare. Maybe once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks that would happen. So if there is any such scenario, I will let you know. We will have an extra class or extra session for that week if possible, if everyone is available, as per everyone's availability. Else we will continue to have the existing session. And we'll have sessions from Tuesday to Saturday, every day morning at 7 a.m. IST, and we'll be continuing with that time. So any other questions with respect to the time and the days?
Yeah, so is it going to be Tuesday to Saturday instead of Monday to Friday?
Yeah, we have um so do we have anyone from the US?
I am.
You are
Yes.
from okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah,
Dikshan. Yeah.
so
It's
guys,
Deepak.
guys,
hey Deepak.
yeah, guys, Sridevi, Vishwath, for you guys, it's weekdays, US weekdays we used to take.
Yeah, so that's the timing that
Yeah,
we follow.
India Tuesday to Saturday means US Monday to Friday.
Right.
Perfect. That
Yeah,
works.
but it's Friday. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, for Syed, for you it's Tuesday to Saturday. Syed.
Yes, yes, I'm near to India. I'm in UAE, so it's okay. I understand.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We are good. I will email you anyway by mentioning the schedule. Go ahead, Dixon.
Yeah. Yeah. So hey Deepak, how are you?
Hi, Dikshan. I'm good. I'm sorry. I thought I was late, but yeah, I'm on time.
Yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Deepak, did we talk before?
We did, and it was about the interface analyst uh, thing that I
Mm-hmm.
brought up on the first class, and then I was curious that what part of the course would really focus on the analyst part, and then what part of the course is more focused on
Mm-hmm.
the developer part. But again, as we went through everything, now I mean I'm getting to know that it's like the entire course would be an important stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to learn, and then and probably it's a good time probably to learn everything and then prepare for the certification. So do we have anything specific to the analyst certification, Addiction?
I mean, interface analyst from
Yeah,
technical perspective.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see, we have certification for HL7, which is from functional perspective, where you have to prepare for all three chapters that I said earlier, and
Mhm.
that is given by HL7 organization. Now,
Okay.
about the Mirth Connect certification, that will be usually given by Mirth Connect organization,
Mhm.
but that is given only to the people who attend um, their
Conferences. Yeah,
training program,
got it.
which costs around 4,000 or $4,500. So
Ah,
that's a
okay.
3-day seminar, and they will teach you, they will guide you, and they will put up an assignment, and you have to clear that assignment to get certified. So that's their process.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my primary focus is to get certified for the HL7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and may I know, I'm sorry, I forgot. May I know what is your background? I mean, background in
So
the
yeah,
sense your professional background and all.
so I have been into pharma and healthcare. So I started my career in pharma. I was a
Mm-hmm.
business analyst there, and first I was in marketing analyst, and then I moved to business analyst.
Mm-hmm.
And so last 3 years I've been a healthcare analyst working for Blue Cross Blue Shield. But I'm more into functional side,
Okay.
not as much in technical side, but again more into functional side. So I'm kind of more onto the project management side.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and the reason why I picked this is that is the
Mm-hmm.
reason I was asking that whether this should be a good check for me to get into the interface analyst stuff, or whether it would be a good uh, thing to get into the developer stuff.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yep. Yep. Thank you, Deepak. So I had a good discussion with Syed and Sridevi already. So Vishwath, I think we did not talk much. So may I
Right.
have quick background about your professional
Sure.
career and
So,
what is your exact expectation from this training?
sure. So I'm a solutions architect working for a medical imaging company, and
Hmm.
I mostly work on DICOM. So
Okay.
Hl7 is something that we're starting to introduce, and that's why I was more curious on the PACS workflow the other day.
Okay.
I had one question. So and we do tend to integrate more into the hospital systems with PACS EMRs and dictations and advanced visualization softwares and and everything. So Hl7 is a pretty integral component of it, and I know the basics of it, but I haven't really had a deep dive discussion as you bringing up here. So I thought
Hmm.
this might be a pretty helpful course, and I might change roles as a product manager too. So I thought I should
Okay.
have a wide scope knowledge, and hope this course helps me out.
Okay. All right. All right. That's great. Okay. So yeah. So I think I introduced myself, but I'll just quick background. So just we know each other. I think the first two sessions we had a lot of people who have joined and we did not get much time to talk, which is why I am just talking to you guys right now. So as I said earlier, I have been working in healthcare industry for past 12 years, and I worked on various kinds of implementations with respect to HL7, various message types. And I worked on interface engine like Rhapsody, Mirth Connect, and Connector, Integration Buddy, a little bit on HL Ensemble as well. So today, as I outlined the training in the first session, we'll have the functional part where we'll be taking a look at HL7, what are the different message types from the slides which we have seen yesterday. We'll take a look at all the segments and all the fields. Not all the fields, but important fields which are mostly covered or mostly become the talking points during the real-time implementations. And then we'll have intermediary sessions which are like prerequisites for Mirth Connect. We'll have a training session on networking, so so that we know how do we connect systems, what kind of networking concept that we use to connect two different systems, and then we will be jumping into Mirth Connect. So with Mirth Connect, we'll be going through entire application workflow to understand how the application works and how do we, um, what are the various options that we have so that we can understand them and we can start creating interfaces on Mirth Connect. And at the end, we'll have a couple of sessions on theoretical aspects of what is MU, why do we use MU, what are the concepts of, uh, what are the various stages of MU, and how HL7 plays a role, and also other standards like CCD and X12 and FHIR play a role in today's healthcare industry. So that is how our training will conclude. So we'll continue from where we have stopped yesterday. So if you have any questions, you can write them up, and or you can stop me. Once we complete the topic, one single topic, we'll have a questionnaire session at the end. So you can ask me at that point of time. But if you feel you are not understanding, and if it is something related to And I mean, if the topics that we are going to talk ahead is something related to the topic that we already discussed, and if you are not clear with it, you can halt me anytime and you can ask about it. We'll talk about that. So, any questions with respect to the process that we are going to follow?
Good.
All right. So yesterday we did take a look at what is MSH segment and what are the important fields of MSH segment. We started that. So we'll continue. We saw that MSH1 is for field separator. MSH2 is for encoding characters. So MSH1 is an exception for specifically for MSH segment. Usually one first field would be a general field which will be held between two pipes. But only with MSH, we see that one MSH1 is an exception and we will have just the field separator there. With MSH2, we have encoding characters and all the encoding characters are specified in MSH2. And MSH3, we have sending application. We have discussed this as well. So any interface that we are talking about will have a source system and a receiving system, or a sending system or receiving system. And usually we call them a source and destination. So whenever we are sending the data from one system, that becomes a sending application and sending facility, and the receiving system will become receiving application and receiving facility. In case of a hospital where both PM and EHR are present in the same hospital, we see that the facility name would be same. But in scenarios where we are talking about interfaces between hospital and labs, or hospital and an external third party EHR or PM system, then in that case, we see that the facility names will change. Now we'll talk about the tables that are mentioned here. It's not that we are always going to refer the table, but we'll look at them as and when necessary. The tables that you're seeing here are the tables that are defined by Hl7 organization. So in Conformance of Hl7 certification chapter, we'll be taking a look at we'll get little understanding about what these tables are. So usually for few fields, Hl7 has defined a table, and these tables will are of two types. Number one, a table which is a structure where it will let you know what are the columns that we have to use, but the actual data of the table is filled up or provided by the hospital based on their requirement. That is category number one. Number two is a situation where the table structure is provided or designed by Hl7, and the data as well is designed by Hl7, and in that particular field we are supposed to look at the data or supposed to use the data that has been provided by Hl7 only. Okay, so first table is for user defined data, second table is for Hl7 defined data. So these are the two kinds of tables that we'll have. And these tables that you're seeing here will fall under the first kind because hospitals, facilities, and applications will keep on changing. So that is not something Hl7 can define. That is a user-defined table. I'll show you other tables wherever we have to go ahead and take a look at. There's a Hl7 defined tables. So we'll see as and when it comes up with one specific field, and we'll take a look at an example there. And regarding these specifications that you're seeing on the screen, I have made it from a website called as Charistics. You can also go ahead and take a look at that. I'll quickly show you where I made it from. There are many materials out there in the internet. You can select any one of them. I found this helpful, so I'm using it, and you can also go ahead and try to use it. So let me, yeah. So this is the website. I'll just paste that in the chat. So if you want to copy, you can copy it and take a look at that later. So in this, you have all the Hl7 related details. So if you look at Hl7 definition, it will give you all the basic details. If you click on trigger events, you can select any specific version of Hl7 that you want to go ahead and take a look at. You can select that version, and from there on you can select the segments whatever segment you're trying to look at. For example, right now we are looking at a message segment. So you can select a message segment and it will give you the same details that we are seeing on the screen. But in case if you want more uh, information or anything, you can come here and take a look at that. Data types. So as part of our training, we'll be completing most important segments and fields, but not all of them. I mean, not all of them in the sense we are going to cover 70-75% of them. But down the line, for example, if you're going to implement any immunization interface, there will be certain fields that are involved in immunization. So fields and segments. So this can be of reference and help if you, I mean, in future, from now on in future, whenever you want to take a look at it, you can take a look at that. And you will have data types as well. If you want to understand data types, and you have tables as well, what are the different tables and all, that can also be used. So this can be of guide or study material, you can say. I'll anyways be sharing these PDFs with you through the drive. So next we will take a look at Hl7. So we did understand yesterday that it is date and time of the message when we are going to trigger the date and time. And in Hl9, we are going to have message type. So I'll pull out a sample Hl7 message so that we can navigate through that as well. So in message 9, we do see that we have this value. So this is called as message type, as we all know. We provide the message type so that we can understand what kind of message that we are dealing with. This is like heading of a text, name of a textbook. So when we have name of a textbook, we understand that what kind of data that we are going to have within that textbook. In the same way, by looking at this message 9, we understand what kind of data that we are going to have through the entire message, entire Hl7 message. So we might see, based on the scenario, we might see ADTA08, ADTA28, or A31, or if they are appointments, we will be seeing SIOS 12, SIOS 14, and all. And if it is charges, we'll be seeing DFTPO3 and so on. So we'll be seeing various events which we have seen yesterday. Apart from them, we'll be also seeing MDMT01, MDMT02, VXU for immunizations, and QRY related interfaces for query and response interfaces and so on. So it depends on the particular event that you're dealing with, and that event clearly defines what has to be sent in a message 9. How do we send it, and when do we decide? It depends on the way you are writing the design or writing the queries in order to extract data from database while implementing an interface. So that is something a later part which we'll be taking a look at while working on the interface engine. Next, we have a message 10, which is message control ID. Message control ID is the unique ID that we'll be using for each and every Hl7 message that is going to be generated. This plays a very major role because as this acts as a unique identifier, this becomes the reference number for all across the systems. Now, in simple interface terms, we will be seeing that PM becomes the sending system, EHR becomes the receiving system. But when you jump into the real-time workflows, it's not one single system to single system interface that we'll be looking at. One PM might be interacting with multiple EHR systems, or one EHR system will be receiving data from multiple PM systems. So when we talk about real-time implementations, we might have multiple systems involved in it. And when we are playing with multiple systems, having a unique ID for each message is very, very important. And this is the field that will have that information. So usually what do we send in message 9, message 10 is the date time stamp uh, along with date, month, year, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, so that this particular ID can be as unique as possible. That is one way. Or few people will send UID, which is a universal unique identifier, or few people will send GUID, which is also a unique ID. These two are generated by the system. Those are random IDs which can be generated by your computer. So that ID can also be sent as a unique ID in a message 10. And few other people will send the concatenation of, or concatenation in the sense uh, they will just combine together the time and the patient ID, so that in scenarios where two patients are getting registered by the front desk staff at the same time, there might be possibility that both the timestamps could be same. And it is very rare, but just in case, if it happens, we will end up in having same date and timestamp for two different HL7 messages, which shouldn't be the case. So in such cases, we'll see that it will be, I mean, not in such cases, but in scenarios where such kind of scenarios are anticipated, they will concatenate, which is nothing but associate the timestamp with the with the patient ID, so that even if the two different patients are getting registered at the same time, the MSH10 value becomes as unique as possible. Okay. So that is from the unique ID perspective, but how do we use it? How do we use it in the real-time implementations? So when we send out a message from PM system to EHR system, we'll take the example of PM to EHR, and same can be applied down the line, whatever sending into a receiving system they are. So when we are sending a message from PM system to EHR system, once the message is sent over, immediately the destination system will send out a response back as an acknowledgement. We'll be talking about acknowledgement when we get to 15 and 16 fields of this particular MSH segment. But just to brief you, the destination system will send out an acknowledgement back. And when they send out an acknowledgement back, we should have some sort of token looking at which we can understand that this particular acknowledgement is for so and so message that I have sent. So that token is nothing but our MSH10, which will be sent back in the acknowledgement message, by looking at which we will understand that this acknowledgement is for the so and so message ID that we have sent across. So let's say MSH10 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the ID that I am setting, just a random number. When the acknowledgement is sent back from the destination system, they will send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the acknowledgement message, so that by looking at that, we can understand that this acknowledgement is for the message 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we have sent, so that there will be a closure of the loop of the message cycle. So we'll talk more about acknowledgement when we get to MSH 15 and 16. But that is just small introduction of how MSH 10 will be used. Next we have MSH 11, which is processing ID. So processing ID is nothing but, there are three IDs that are accepted in this field, which is production, test, and then development. So in MSH field number 11, you will be seeing different IDs based on your project stage. So when a project is uh, being implemented, it will have various stages, right? So first you'll be developing the interface where you'll be writing your code on how to extract data, how to generate HL7 messages, and so on. And next, you will be having a testing cycle where you'll be performing the entire test. So after developing the code, there will be a release from the development team, and that release will be taken over by the testing team. Testing team will go ahead and write the test cases that are required, and they will start testing the release. So when they do test, this value will be changed from D, which is development, to T, which is testing. Once the testing is completed and once the testing team signs off the testing, and client also signs off the testing, then that is when we'll plan for the production move. And from there on, when the implementation is moved to production, it will be sent as P in the HL7 messages. So this is used usually to reject the messages in the real-time applications. For example, you are implementing an interface and by mistake you are sending it to the production port. So production system will not allow anything apart from P. So by mistake, even if you send out T or D message to a production system, which happens at times, because at times we might not set the port number right on the destination window, and we might end up in sending it to the production system. Apparently, that will be a test message. It won't be a live real-time message, and the destination system shouldn't accept that. So MSH11 plays a role in avoiding or rejecting that message instead of accepting it. Then we have MSH12, which is version ID. So version ID is nothing but Hl7 version ID. So what kind of version that we are dealing with, 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, or which version that we are dealing with. Version 3 of Hl7 is totally different. The architecture is different. It doesn't look like this, doesn't look the way 2 looks like. I mean, segments are there, but the expression of segments and expression of fields is totally different. In version 3, we'll be using flower brackets, square brackets for expressing segments and fields. But this training is not about version 3, and we are going to take a look at version 2 only. And when we are looking at versions, 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, 2.8, it could be anything, but on a larger scale, version 2 is what is being used in the industry very widely. And I think I mentioned in the previous sessions that version 3 is not very much accepted by the industry for many reasons. Number one, version 3 has been introduced in 2015. But speculation about that was there right from 2012 itself, and documents were released, beta documents were released by 2012, 2013 itself. But the point was, it was complete change in the architecture of the way the messages are going to be transacted, and there were few challenges, really. By the time it was introduced officially in the market, healthcare market, there were thousands and thousands of implementations which were already done on version 2. And the way version 3 was designed was a little heavy than when we compare to the version 2, which means from data perspective. Interpreting version 3 from programming perspective was also a challenging task. Now, when we talk about Hl7 messages, we are specifically talking about parsing the messages and extracting the data from the Hl7 message, right? So parsing an Hl7 version 3 message is heavy because of its construct, using square brackets, parentheses and all, which is time consuming. That is one challenge, why Hl7 version 3 was not widely accepted. Second thing, there was no additional value that is going to be added if you convert from version 2 to version 3. Usually, whenever we talk about any version upgrade, uh, whether it is Hl7 or in general with respect to any application, we do update our Android apps, we do update our software applications, right? We upgrade expecting some sort of value from that particular upgrade. But version 3, with version 3, there was no much value addition, and it was costs. Uh, a lot of cost factor was involved in upgrading to version 3 because we needed new skill. I mean, that skill who had idea of version 3 was very much less in the market, and it was not adding any value anywhere near to the cost that is going to be incurred. So these are the two main reasons why version 3 was not widely accepted, and today we see that there are only handful of interfaces on version 3. You won't be talking about or hearing much about version 3 at all. Still people are implementing version 2 itself. Whether you go to other countries or other implementations, even in the US, we are still on version 2, and most likely that will continue. From what I'm saying, from last 5 years, I haven't seen much version 3 implementation so far. And these handful of clients are those kinds of clients who usually have the feeling to upgrade to newer versions as soon as they are released. So in 2014-15, during that times, there were few clients who felt that we have to get upgraded, and they have upgraded. So they are just stuck to what they have upgraded to. But most of the clients did wait. So there are two types of people that we'll find usually, right? Few people will go ahead and upgrade to new versions as soon as they get it. Few people wait to see if there are any bugs, uh, if there are any challenges that will be there when we upgrade to the new systems. So these are two things these are two kinds of people that we'll be seeing when across the board, across the software industry. So most of the people fall on the second category where they'll be seeing what are the bugs, what are the challenges and all, and then they will decide whether to upgrade or not. So which is why 90% of people did not go ahead and upgrade to version 3. So that is little bit slight history about versions with respect to HL7. And next we have MSH 15 and MSH 16. So these are two important fields which will let us know what kind of acknowledgements that we are using. So when we talk about acknowledgement, what is an acknowledgement? So when we go to any grocery store, we purchase something, right? We purchase something and they will provide us a counterfoil or receipt, you can say. We pay the amount, we take the receipt, and we also take the goods. So that receipt plays as a role of proof that you have paid the bill, right? So that is kind of an acknowledgement. In the same way, whenever we are sending out a message from sending system and the receiving system receives it, there should be some sort of information that has to be communicated back to the sending system so that sending system can understand that they have the destination system has received the particular message that sending system has sent. So when we talk about real-time implementations, most of the implementations are of TCP/IP type of connectivity. So TCP/IP, we'll talk about TCP/IP down the line, but with respect to TCP/IP type of connectivity, we will be sending out a message from PM system to EHR. EHR will respond back with an acknowledgement so that a cycle can be completed. Okay, so this we call as a complete cycle. But is it always mandatory to receive an acknowledgement back? It depends on the implementation engineers and the workflow and also the connectivity type that we are using. For example, if you are using an FTP type of connectivity, we don't need an acknowledgement back. And if you are using a TCP/IP type of connectivity, we will need an acknowledgement back so that we can determine whether the packets that we are sending are being dropped or not. Basically, whether the HL7 that we are sending, whether it's making to the destination system or not, is determined by looking at the acknowledgement that we are going to get back from the destination. So in that way, acknowledgement plays a major role in determining that factor. Usually we have two types of acknowledgement. One is accept acknowledgement, other one is application level acknowledgement. So we'll quickly see what they are. So when we talk about, let's say we have two systems, I'll quickly draw them. So we have this PM system and we also have an EHR system. So when PM is sending out a message, as soon as EHR receives out a message, it will respond back with an acknowledgement. So when it responds back with an acknowledgement, it is called as an accept tag. So when we are talking about an accept tag, it means that EHR system is going to send out an acknowledgement. EHR system will not bother about whether all the required segments and fields are present in that particular message or not. It is just bothered, or it will just figure out that it has received a message. It has to respond back with an acknowledgement message. So it will respond back with an acknowledgement message. It will not validate the credibility of the HL7 message that we are sending across. So when we are sending out an HL7 message, it is necessary that we have to send the required segments, we have to send the required fields and all, right? So whenever such things happen, whenever send any HL7 message with incorrect segments or incorrect fields, even in that case, accept acknowledgement will be sent back because EHR is not validating anything of that HL7 message and sending out an ACK. So this type of acknowledgement where we get an immediate response is called as an accept ACK. As the name itself suggests, EHR will accept that message and it will send it over. Whether it validates that message, processes that message or not, it's a secondary aspect. Primary aspect is it is responding back to the PM system. Now we'll take a look at second scenario. PM system is sending out a message. EHR will receive that message. It will not respond back with an acknowledgement message. It will first validate the HL7 message. It will see whether all the required segments, required fields are present in the HL7 message or not, post which it will be able to process that message successfully. So EHR side, the design will be such a way that when an HL7 message is received, it will clearly see whether all the required segments are present, fields are present. If they are present, it will process the message and insert the data into the database of the base tables. So now what are base tables? When you are talking about an application, your application will have direct connectivity with your tables, right? For example, you're pulling out a patient, you're searching for a patient, and when you search for a patient, it will show up on your PM system. So when you see the patient, it means that you're seeing it, but apparently it is reflecting the data that is connected at the backend in the base tables. So that data is present in the base tables. If data is not present in the base tables, you won't be able to see that in the EHR application, EHR or PM application. This is the same case with any application. So in order for the data for this HL7 message that is being sent from PM system to EHR system, in order for that to show up in the EHR, it should end up or it should be inserted into the base table. And that insertion into the base table will happen only in situation where PM where that HL7 message has complete information. If something is missing, it will error out. It will not process that message. I mean, the EHR system will not process that message. So from acknowledgement perspective, when PM system is sending a message to the EHR system, if any of the segments and fields are incorrect, it will send out a negative acknowledgement, which is called as application acknowledgement. So the second type of acknowledgement is PM system sends out a message, EHR will validate all the segments and fields. If everything is right, it will send out an acknowledgement. That is called as application acknowledgement. Now we have seen positive sides of it. Let's say there is a negative side of it. If the message that received by the EHR system doesn't have required fields or required segments, then EHR will send out an application error message, which states that there is some sort of error with the segments or fields. Then PM system will have to go out and verify and validate what is wrong with that particular field, or what is wrong with that particular segment or particular HL7 message. Anything they have to um, dive in to figure out what is going wrong with the system or what is going wrong with the message. So those are the two different types of acknowledgement that we'll have, which we'll be seeing in the real-time implementations. So any one of them will be used, not both of them will be used. Either message 15, message 16 will be used in real time. And these are optional segments and optional fields, not optional segments, sorry. These are optional fields. And in the real-time implementations, you can use any one of them, either 15 or 16. When you're sending out an HL7 message, you can demand any one of the fields. So if you look at this HL7 message, we have only till version. As 15, 16 are optional, we don't need to explicitly tell the destination system that we are expecting an acknowledgement back. If they are sending it, well and good. If we need it, then even in that case, we can tell that during the implementation so that they can respond back with an acknowledgement message, and we can design our interface engine to receive that and perform validation. Okay, so any questions with respect to MSH segment?
I have two questions here. This is
Sure.
Rishabh here.
Yeah.
The first question is pertaining to the message control ID that you stated as unique. It needs to be a unique ID.
Right.
So does it have to be unique ID pertaining to every single message that's getting sent out?
Yes. Every message.
So even for the same patient, if there is an update or anything like that, every single message will have a unique ID.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's
Okay.
say we have a patient got registered and within seconds they realize that the phone number captured was incorrect. And even if they update it immediately, there will be two messages that will be triggered out. So each message that is going to be generated is considered as a unique event. So each unique event will have each unique ID.
Okay. And this unique ID, as you said, can be any UID, and it's completely dependent on the vendor's choice, and there's no bounding box on they have to follow certain type of character limit or
Format.
anything like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, there is nothing as such. Character limit is there. You can see that uh, character limit in the sense length limit is there. You can send
Okay.
only 199 characters in the message 10 field, not
Okay.
greater than that.
Great. Thanks. The second question that I have is when you say PM system, and talks to the EHR, is it
Mhm.
is it always directly talking? And what is the role of a Rhapsody here?
Yeah, so we will be looking at that architecture down the line when we get
Okay.
to when we
Okay.
get. I mean, we are looking at the higher levels now, where how
Mhm.
messages are being transacted. We will get deeper slowly as and when we proceed with the training. So I will talk about detailed architecture on the message flow, how, what is the application's role, what is the database role, what is the interface engine role down the line.
Perfect.
When we talk about interface engines architecture, we'll get there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions from anyone? Yeah, Deepak.
Uh, Addiction is so I don't know if this is the right question, but again, the
No,
message control
anything,
ID,
anything.
yeah, yeah. So is it just a numeric value or is it an alphanumeric value? The message control ID.
It can be anything. It's okay. You can send any value. When you talk about GUID, even GUIDs are alphanumeric at times. So it can be any value. You can send anything. For example, I told you a scenario where we'll be talking about where we'll be concatenating or just joining two values, which is timestamp and patient ID. At times, you will see that patient ID is also alphanumeric. They will be prefixing the location information in the patient ID or suffixing the location information in patient ID and so on. So this value can be alphanumeric.
Okay.
Anything is
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I have one question
Sure, Sridevi.
regarding the
Hello, Sridevi. Sridevi, your voice is cutting off. I mean, I can't hear you now. Anything.
message 15,
Mm-hmm.
the accept acknowledge. So so the example that you showed was version was having number and is you. Can you hear me now?
Sridevi, there's a lot of muffling. Your voice is lowing up and high up, and I'm unable to understand your question. Hello.
We can hear you, so, Dixon. So,
Yeah, yeah. Sridevi, are you there? Sridevi, we can't hear you. Yeah, Sridevi, we can't hear you still. Can you type your question? we will, yeah, I think she will join back. So any questions from anyone else about message segment? All right. So one important thing is a message segment is the most important segment, and it is present in all the messages. You will not see any message without a message segment because that will have header information and it will have index information on what that message is all about. If you don't have a message segment, then it's not a valid HL7 message. That is what is considered as part of real-time implementations. Sridevi, can you hear us? All right, let us see if she can join midway and we'll see. So next segment that we are going to take a look at is EVN. EVN is an event segment. So this is not there in the latest versions. You might be seeing that in 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, it's not there. But this is used exclusively to specify the event of a message. So when you look at an HL7 message, you will have this event segment. So in this, first two fields are important. First field will indicate your event type, which is nothing but a message 9.2. The same event information that you have in a message 9.2 will be sent over in EVN2 as well. And message generation date time, EVN2 is message generation date time, which is the exact date time of a message 7. As we have this information already in a message, I think this is removed down the line, which is why you're not seeing this in latest version 2.7 and 2.8. One other important thing that I wanted to communicate is we are going to have a holistic perspective. We'll be comparing, we'll be looking at the fields which are as part of 2.3, 2.5, 2.7 and all. So we'll be having a holistic approach of version 2 all throughout the training. At times you will see that few fields are withdrawn, but still we are talking about it because when you talk about real-time implementations, we will never know. You will be dealing with 2.3, 2.5, 2.7 and so on. So to cover everything, we'll be talking about all the fields that were there for version 2, which are most common fields, most repetitive fields in the HL7. So that is about EVN. Not much important, to be honest. This has the same information that is already being communicated in a message segment. Next we have PID segment. So PID segment is used for patient identification, as I told in the first session. So PID1 is set ID. So we'll be seeing set IDs in most of the HL7 segments. PID, P1, IN1, and OBR, ORU, and so on. There are OBR and ORU message, and there will be a lot of segments where we'll be seeing set ID. So what is a set ID? Usually this is used to represent the sequence. Let's say if we have more than one segment of the same kind, then in that instance we need to identify the sequence number for each segment. So now we have only one PID segment here. Let us suppose that we have two PID segments. Then the second PID segment will have sequence number 2, and if we have 3 of them, then we'll have 3. Okay, so in this way, if we have the same segment repeated, then in that case we'll be seeing that sorry, let me mention it correctly. Yeah, so in cases where you have the same field being repeated, same segment being repeated, then sequence ID plays a major role in sequencing them, or the set ID plays a major role. It might not be much relevant for you for a PID segment, because usually PID will have, any message will have only one PID segment, where you'll be seeing information related to one patient. Not that you will not receive a message or you will not find a message where you'll be having PID segment, depending on the scenario. There will be few scenarios where you will be seeing multiple PID segments, but that's a different ballgame altogether, where you'll be querying a master patient index and receiving the responses and all. So that's a different thing. But in general, you'll be seeing only one PID segment per message. And The repetitive segments would fall or would come up when we are talking about an order message. In order message, you will have multiple OBR segments, and in a result message, you will have multiple OBX segments, which we'll be seeing down the line. But in scenarios where you have multiple repetitions of same segment, sequence ID plays a major role, and same concept applies to all the segments down the line. So we won't be discussing about much about this field again. Next, you have patient ID 2, PID 2, 3, and 4. These three fields are used for representing patient IDs. Okay, now you'll be seeing PID2 is withdrawn, PID4 is withdrawn. This specification is made out of version 2.7. But in version 2.3 and 5, you'll see that PID2 and 4 are used and they did play a major role. Okay, so these are used for patient identifiers, as I said. There is a lot to talk about these fields, so we'll be continuing it tomorrow. We'll take a deeper look at PID2, 3, and 4. So today we did take a look at what are the concepts of MSH segment, and we did talk about various fields and how they are used from functional perspective and real-time implementations. So we'll conclude today's session here. Tomorrow we'll start taking a look at PID and continue taking a look at all the other segments that are part of PID message, that are part of an ADTA04 message. So any other questions?
Dixon, just to clarify, I need some a little explanation on the digits that is there on the table column. I'm still a little unclear on what is 361 for the table column and the
We
MSH3.
will take a look at that. I'll show you with an example tomorrow. I think that will be clear.
Okay, thanks.
We will get an idea what we are talking about from table perspective. We will take a look at the values of these things. Message 15 and 16, you will get an idea about it.
Yeah, Dixon, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now far better. Yeah, tell me.
Okay. I don't know, there is some network issue, I guess.
Maybe,
So
yeah.
my question was,
Hello. Sridevi, are you there?
so regarding that acknowledgement type,
Mhm.
I just forgot what my question was. So regarding the acknowledgement type, you mentioned that the version number, after the version number, we mention if we need an acknowledgement or not, right?
Right. In the HL7 message, right?
So I mean the message, right? Yes. So the sample message that you showed, after the it was just blank. I mean there was not even any. So usually we don't leave it blank, right? I mean, or just I mean, can you do that?
Yes, we can do that. I mean, it depends on the scenario. That's what I said. So if
Uh-huh.
this is an optional field, it is not always necessary to send out
Okay, so
acknowledgement
whatever is
informations.
optional, so that has a so optional
We
can
have
be
the
left as
flexibility, right?
okay.
Right. Right, because
Okay.
acknowledgement is not something that is always used. As I said, if you're talking about a file-to-file interface, when you're doing a file reader and file drop, the destination system is not some system which can respond back to you. You just drop the files to a folder and the work of interface engine is done. So in that case, we don't need an acknowledgement back. We don't need any proof that the message is whether it is being dropped successfully or not. It is automatically dropping the message to certain folder. So we don't need an act back. So it depends on the scenario.
Okay, so this message needs has an optional acknowledgement. So what are all the message that like trigger events that is having an at least optional acknowledgement?
So it's not depend upon the message type. It depends on the connectivity type that you're using. So there are various connectivity types which you'll be using in real-time implementations. It will be TCP/IP, it will be SFTP, or it will be folder to folder drop, or you'll be using a database extract or HTTP. So there are various types of connectivities. We have a session on networking. where we'll be talking about what these connectivity types are. So
Okay.
based on the networking connectivity method that you're using, it depends whether we have to expect an acknowledgement back or not.
Okay.
It is independent of message type.
Okay. Okay. And I think I missed the port. What you're talking about, some port number, right? So what was that? I think
Right.
my network was again off.
Port number, again, about the port number, we'll be talking about it in the networking session, which we have.
Okay.
So at that time,
Mhm.
I will clarify about these acknowledgements.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Syed, you had a question?
No, it's okay. Tomorrow.
Okay, all right. All right. So if you all don't have any questions, we'll conclude today's session here. We'll catch up tomorrow morning. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You all have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
teacher.